Alright, everything good? Everything ready? Uh, Hello everyone. Apologies for the strange stream today. I decided, to go hang out with my dad later, which would cut greatly into the time I had to stream. But I realized I had about 1 hour. Hello, Apop, hello. I had about an hour to do something. So, I said, you know what? I ran the poll a while ago, when I eventually do the book reading streams, which book we should do. I want to give a forewarning. I don't believe I have a good speaking voice for something like this, something like ASMR or public speaking or reading. I believe I more have a voice attuned to comedy or goblin speak, if I can put in a better turn of phrase. And when it comes to me reading out loud, I do struggle. I don't have dyslexia, but I do misread words. It's a little warning ahead of time. I hope my mic is good, the audio is alright, everything is nice. This is the first time I'm doing this, and I did kind of just fully fall in. I will admit, I am putting on a little bit of a voice, trying to make my voice sound more pleasant than what I'm normally used to. And it does weirdly hurt doing it, but it feels like I have a rock stuck in my throat trying to do this voice. But if everything goes to plan, I hope you all enjoy tonight's reading. Today, from my collection, I have a copy of Alf Layla Ulayla, The Arabian Nights, translated by Sir Robert, see, this is what I'm talking about, me misreading. Sir Richard F. Burton. I just realized my mic cannot pick up my book pages. Actually, no, it's very, very quietly it can. And I will say, Apop, for the cute little voices for each character, I'm not very good at doing voices, so I am gonna try speaking this straightly. Maybe I'll put a little inflection to differentiate between people, but I am gonna be reading this relatively straight. Alright. The Tale of Shahrazia. In tide of yore and in long time long gone before, there was a king of the kings of the Banu Sasan, in the islands of India and China. There was a lord of armies and guards and servants and dependents. He left only two sons, one in the prime of manhood and the other yet a youth. Do what's comfortable for you. I'm just being silly. Good. Thank you, thank you. While both were knights and braves, albeit the elder was a doughtier horseman than the younger, so he succeeded to the empire, when he ruled the land and fought it over his lieges with justice so exemplary that he was beloved by all the peoples of his capital and of his kingdom. His name was King Shahryar, and he made his younger brother Shah Zaman Haith king of Samarkand in barbarian land. These two ceased not to abide in their several realms, and the law was ever carried out in their domains. Oh, dominions, my bad. I don't have any light, so I am reading this in dark and trying to make sure I'm speaking into the mic. And each ruled his own kingdom, with equity and fair dealing to his subjects, in extreme solace and enjoyment, and this condition continually endured for a score of years. But at the end of the 12th month, the elder king yearned for a sight of his younger brother, and felt that he must look upon him once more. So he took counsel with his vizier and visiting him. But the minister, finding the project unadvisable, recommended that a letter be written and a present be sent under his charge to the younger brother, with an invitation to visit the elder. Having accepted this advice, the king forthwith bade prepared handsome gifts, such as horses with saddles of gems-encrusted gold, Mamluks or white slaves, beautiful handmaidens, high-breasted virgins, and splendid stuffs and costly. He then wrote a letter to Shah Zaman, expressing his warm love and great wish to see him, ending with the words, "We therefore hope of the favor and affection of the beloved brother that he will condescend to bestir himself and turn his face uswards. Furthermore, we have sent our vizier to make all ordinance for the march, and our one and only desire is to see thee ere we die. But if thou delay or disappoint us, we shall not survive the blow. Wherewith peace be upon thee." Then King Shahryar, having sealed the missive and given it to the vizier with the offerings aforementioned, commanded him to shorten his skirts and strain his strength, and make all expeditions in going and returning. "Hearken in obedience," quoth the minister, who fell to making ready without stay and packing up his loads and prepared all his requisites without delay. This occupied him 3 days, and on the dawn of the 4th he took leave of his king and marched right away, over deserts and hillways, stony waste and pleasant lea, without halting by night or by day. By whenever he entered a realm whose ruler was subject to a suzerain, where he was greeted with magnificent gifts of gold and silver, and all manner of presents fair and rare, he would tarry the 3 days, the term of the guest rite, and when he left on the 4th, he would be honorably escorted for a whole day's march. As soon as the vizier drew near Shah Zaman's court in Samarkand, he dispatched to report his arrival one of his high officials, who presented himself before the king, and kissing the ground between his hands, delivered his message. Hereupon the king commanded sundry of his grandees and lords of his realm to fare forth and meet his brother's vizier at the distance of a full day's journey. When they did, greeting him respectfully and wishing him all prosperity and forming an escort in a procession. When he entered the city, he proceeded straightway to the palace, where he presented himself in the royal presence, and after kissing ground and praying for the king's health and happiness, and for victory over all his enemies, he informed him that his brother was yearning to see him, and prayed for the pleasure of a visit. He then delivered the letter, which Shah Zaman took from his hand and read. It contained sundry hints and allusions which required thought. But when the king had fully comprehended its import, he said, "I hear and I obey the commands of my beloved brother," adding to the vizier, "But we will not march till after the 3rd day's hospitality." He appointed for the minister fitting quarters of the palace, and pitching tents for the troops, rationed them with whatever they might require of meat and drink and other necessities. On the 4th day he made ready for wayfare, and got together sumptuous presents befitting his elder brother's majesty, and established his chief vizier viceroy of the land during his absence. Then he caused his tents and camels and mules to be brought forth and encamped, with their bales and loads, attendants and guards, within sight of the city, in readiness to set out next morning for his brother's capital. But when the night was half spent, he bethought him that he had forgotten in his palace somewhat which he should have brought with him. So he returned privily and entered his apartments, where he found the queen, his wife, asleep on his own carpet bed, embracing with both arms. I am gonna have to pause here for a minute just to explain something. So, this is a relatively old book, and it's not from European culture when it comes to customs that are presented in the book. So there are some very specific phrases that they use. Thank you for the first Soviet. There's some very specific phrases that they use that may be a bit uncouth for today's times and for the nature of what we're doing. Soviet. They're going to say Turk, crude, or Ottoman. Very specific turns of phrase. A-pop, Soviet. For Soviet, calm down when I say it. For A-pop, you'll understand what I mean by they do depict some very, in my eyes, funny because I grew up with it, but some acts that may not be advisable by today. Hold up, let me, I do have to DM one person, though, because I want her to be here in case, if she can appear, kind of tell me after the stream how I did. 1 second. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Current depictions people would deem as offensive as of current year, is what he means to say. It's a product of its time, please understand. Yeah. Alright. Where he found the queen, his wife, asleep on his own carpet bed, embracing with both arms a black cook of loathsome aspect and foul with kitchen grease and grime. When he saw this, the world waxed black before his sight, and he said, if such case happen while I am yet within sight of the city, what will be the doings of this damned whore during my long absence at my brother's court? Such as advisor, is this true? He drew his scimitar, and cutting the two in 4 pieces with a single blow, left them on the carpet and returned presently to his camp, without letting anyone know of what had happened. Then he gave orders for immediate departure and set out at once, and began his travel. But he could not help thinking over his wife's treason, and he kept ever saying to himself, how could she do this deed by me? How could she work her own death? Till excess grief seized him, his color changed to yellow, his body waxed weak, and he was threatened with a dangerous malady, such an one as bringeth men to die. So the vizier shortened his stages and tarried long at the watering stations, and did his best to solace the king. Guards, rid me of this metals. He didn't say guards, rid me of this meddlesome courtesan. He just killed his wife. He just killed her. I love Arabian culture. Now when Shah Zaman drew near the capital of his brother, he dispatched vaunt couriers and messengers of glad tidings to announce his arrival, and Shahryar came forth to meet him with his viziers and emirs, and lords and grandees of his realm, and saluted him, and joyed with exceeding joy, and caused the city to be decorated in his honor. Not even a warning bot. I bet they didn't die to the I think actually that is what is implied, Soviet. I think that is what is implied. When, however, the brothers met, the elder could not but see the change of complexion in the younger, and questioned him of his case, whereto he replied, "'Tis caused by the travails of wayfare, and my case needs care, for I have suffered from the change of water and air, but Allah be praised for reuniting me with a brother so dear and so rare. On this wise he disassembled and kept his secret, adding, O king of the times and caliph of the tide, only toil and moil have tinged my face yellow with bile and hath made my eyes sink deep in my head. There very much is a, I don't know if it's from the vibrations of speaking in this tone, what feels like there's a knife right under my throat where it meets my head, stabbing me as I try to do this voice. Then the two entered the capital in all honor, and the elder brother lodged the younger in a palace overhanging the pleasure garden. And after a time, seeing his condition still unchanged, he attributed it to his separation from his country and kingdom. So he let him wend his own way and asked no question of him, till one day when he again said, O my brother, I see thou art grown weaker of body and yellower of color. O my brother, replied Shahzaman, I have an internal wound. Still he would not tell him what he had witnessed in his wife. Thereupon Shahryar summoned doctors and surgeons and bade them to treat his brother according to the rules of the art, which they did for a whole month. But their sherbets and potions not availed, for he would dwell upon the deed of his wife, and despondency, instead of diminishing, prevailed, and leechcraft treatment utterly failed. Shut up, Soviet. One day his elder brother said to him, I am going forth to hunt and course, and to take my pleasure and pastime. Maybe this would lighten thy heart. Shahzaman, however, refused, saying, O my brother, my soul yearneth for naught of this sort, and I entreat thy favour to suffer me tarry quietly in this place, being wholly taken up with my malady. So King Shahzaman passed his night in the palace, and the next morning, when his brother had fared forth, he removed from his room and sat him down at one of the lattice windows overlooking the pleasure gardens, and there he abode, thinking with saddest thought over his wife's betrayal, and burning sight issued from his tortured breast. And as he continued in this case, lo, a pastern of the palace, which was carefully kept private, swung open, and out of it came 20 slave girls, surrounding his brother's wife, who was wondrous fair, a model of beauty and comeliness and symmetry and perfect loveliness, and who paced with the grace of a gazelle, which patterneth for the cooling stream. Panteth? Symmetry. Yeah, there is very much a few words that I'm not knowing how to pronounce. This is very much getting to me. And if you anyone was wondering where the Alive 2D is, he's still not here, so you got the little shitty goober. They're just there to appease for the time being. Where was I? Thereupon Shahzaman drew back forth from the window, but he kept the... Hold on. Yeah. Doing this voice is actually hurting me, but I kind of have to do it. Trying my best to speak quieter than I normally do. And kept the bevy in sight, spying them from a place whereince he could not be espied. They walked under the very lattice, and advanced a little way into the garden, till they came to a jetting fountain, the middlemost a great basin of water. Then they stripped off their clothes, and behold, 10 of them were women, concubines of the king, and the other 10 were white slaves. Then they all paired off, each with each, but the queen, who was left alone, presently cried out in a loud voice, "Hear to me, O my lord Saeed," and then sprang from a drop leaf, a drop from a with a drop leap from one of the trees. Again, I am very nervous about reading this next part because I don't know how Twitch would react to it. Twitch, if anything happens, I'm reading the Arabian Nights. This is what is said in the page. "Hear to me, O my lord Saeed," and then sprang with a drop leap from one of the trees, a big, slobbering blackamoor with rolling eyes which showed the whites, a truly hideous sight. He walked boldly up to her and threw his arms round her neck while she embraced him as warmly. Then he bussed her, and winding his legs round her as a button loop clasped a button, he threw her and enjoyed her. And likewise did the other slaves with the girls, till all had satisfied their passions, and there ceased not from kissing and clipping, coupling and carousing, till day began to wane. I'm protected by the will of Allah. Order to the sea as well. Very unique turn of phrasing that. When the Mamluks rose from the damsels' bosoms, and the blackamoor slave dismounted from the queen's breast, the men resumed their disguises and all, except the... They use the word. They just use the word. Who swarmed up the tree, entered the palace, and closed the postern door as before. I just skipped over it. I am not taking a chance of that. It's not the word, but it's one of the ones used in that era that might be not allowed. The Spanish word for black. I'm just completely not risking it. Now when Shah Zaman saw this conduct of his sister-in-law, he said in himself, "By Allah, my calamity is lighter than this. My brother is a greater king amongst the kings than I am. Yet this infamy goeth on in his palace, in his very palace, and his wife still in love with the filthiest of filthy slaves. But this only showeth that they all do it, and that there is no woman but who cuckoldeth her husband. Then the curse of Allah upon one and all, and upon the fools who lean against them for support, or who place the reins of conduct in their hands." So he put away his melancholy and despondency, regret and repine, and allay his sorrow by constantly repeating those words, adding, "'Tis my conviction that no man in this world is safe from their malice." I've read the beginning, or at least the first half of this book before. I keep forgetting how just straight into it they do. No, if it gets worse. It always this first chapter, the tale of Sharazia, the meta text behind all the other stories, is just a continuation of how can this get worse for everyone involved. When supper time came, they brought him the trays, and he ate with voracious appetite, for he had long refrained from meat, feeling unable to touch any dish, however dainty. Then he returned grateful thanks to Almighty Allah, praising him and blessing him. And he spent a most restful night, and having been long since he has savored the sweet food of sleep. Next day he broke his fast heartily and began to recover health and strength, and presently regained excellent condition. His brother came back from the chase 10 days after, when he rode out to meet him, and they saluted each other. And when King Shahryar looked at King Shahzaman, he saw how the hue of health had returned to him, how his face had waxed ruddy, and how he ate with an appetite after his late scanty diet. He wondered much and said, "O my brother, I was so anxious that thou wouldst join me in hunting and chasing, and wouldst take thy pleasure and pastime in my dominion." He thanked him and excused himself. Then the two took horse and rode into the city. When they were seated at their ease in the palace, the food trays were set before them, and they ate their sufficiency. I'm making sure of stuff. After the meats were removed and they had washed their hands, King Shahryar turned to his brother and said, "My mind is overcome with wondereth at thy condition. I was desirous to carry thee with me to the chase, but I saw thee changed in hue, pale and wan to view, and in sore trouble of mind too. But now, Alhamdulillah, glory be to God, I see thy natural color hath returned to thy face, and that thou art again in the best of case. It was my belief that thy sickness came as severance from thy friends and family, and absence from capital and country, so I refrained from troubling thee with further questions. But now I beseech thee to expound to me the cause of thy complaint and thy change of color, and to explain the reason of thy recovery and the return of the ruddy hue of health which I am wont to view. So speak out and hide not." When Shahzaman heard this, he bowed groundwards a while his head, and then raised it and said, "I will tell thee what caused my complaint and my loss of color, but excuse my acquainting thee with the case of its return to me, and the reason of my complete recovery. Indeed, I pray thee not to press me for a reply." Said Shahryar, who was much surprised by these words, "Let me hear first what produced thy pallor and thy poor condition." "Know then, O my brother," rejoined Shahzaman, "that when thou sentest thy vizier with the invitation to place myself between thy hands, I made ready and marched out of my city. But presently I minded me, having left behind me in the palace a string of jewels intended as a gift to thee. I returned for it alone, and found my wife on my carpet bed and in the arms of a hideous black cook. So I slew the twain and came to thee. Yet my thoughts brooded over this business, and I lost my bloom and became weak. But excuse me if I still refuse to tell thee what was the reason of my complexion returning." Shahryar shook his head, marveling with extreme marvel, and with the fire of wrath flaming up from his heart, he cried, "Indeed, the malice of woman is mighty." Then he took refuge from them with Allah and said, "In very sooth, O my brother, thou hast escaped many an evil by putting thy wife to death, and rightfully excusable were thy wrath and grief for such mishap, which never yet befell crowned king like thee." By Allah, had the case been mine, I would not have been satisfied without slaying 1,000 women, and that that way madness lies. But now praise to Allah who hath tempered to thee thy tribulation in needs. Then must thou acquaint me with that which so suddenly recovered to thee complexion and health, and explain to me what causeth this concealment. Women, am I right? Thank you, Apop. Yeah, the never-ending tale of how can this story get worse for everybody involved. Beautiful. O King of the age, again I pray thee excuse my so doing. Nay, but thou must. I fear, O my brother, lest the recital cause thee more anger and sorrow than afflicted me. That were but a better reason, quoted Shahryar, telling me the whole history, and I conjure thee, by Allah, not to keep back aught from me. Thereupon Shah Zaman told him all he had seen, from commencement to conclusion, ending with these words: When I beheld thy calamity and the treason of thy wife, O my brother, and I resected that thou art in years my senior and in sovereignty my superior, mine own sorrow was belittled by the comparison. And my mind recovered tone and temper, so throwing off melancholy and despondency, I was able to eat and drink and sleep, and thus I speedily regained health and strength. Such is the truth and the whole truth. When King Shahryar heard this, he waxed wroth with exceeding wrath, and anger was like to strangle him. But presently he recovered himself and said, O my brother, I would not give thee the lie in this matter, but I cannot credit it till I see it with mine own eyes. Hello. Self-care regimen discovered. Cheat on your wife. Hello, GC. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Welcome in, welcome in. True, quoth the king, whereupon he made proclamation of his intent to travel, and the troops and tents fared forth without the city, camping within sight, and Shahryar sallied out with them and took seat amidmost his host, bidding the slaves admit no man to him. When the night came on, he summoned his vizier and said to him, Sit thou in my stead, and let none wot of my absence till the return of 3 days. Until the term of 3 days. Then the brothers disguised themselves and returned by night with all secrecy to the palace, where they passed the dark hours, and at dawn they seated themselves at the lattice overlooking the pleasure grounds. When presently the queen and her handmaidens came out as before, and passing under the window, made for the fountain. Here they stripped, 10 of them being men to 10 women, and the king's wife cried out, Where art thou, O Saeed? The hideous blackamoor dropped from the tree straightway, and rushing into her arms without stay or delay, cried out, I am Sa'ad al-Din Saud. The lady laughed heartily, and all fell to satisfying their lust, and remained so occupied for a couple of hours, when the white slaves rose up from the handmaiden's breast, and the blackamoor dismounted from the queen's bosom. Then they went into the basin, and, after performing the gashul, the gulsh, or complete ablution, donned their dresses and retired as they had done before. What was going on in the Middle East at this time? It's just madness. When King Shahryar saw this infamy of his wife and concubines, he became as one distraught, and he cried out, Only in utter solitude can man be safe from the doings of this vile world. by Allah, life is naught but one great wrong. Presently he added, Do not thwart me, O my brother, in what I propose. And the other answered, I will not. So, he said, let us up as we are, and depart forthright hence. For we have no concern with kingship, and let us overwander Allah's earth, worshipping the Almighty, till we find some one to whom the like calamity hath happened, and if we find none, then will death be more welcome to us than life. So the two brothers issued from a second private postern of the palace, and they never stinted wayfaring by day and by night until they reached a tree amiddle of a meadow, hard by a spring of sweet water on the shore of the salt sea. Both drank of it and sat down to take their rest. And when an hour of the day had gone by, lo, they heard a mighty roar, an uproar in the middle of the main, as though the heavens were falling upon the earth, and the sea break with waves before them. And from it towering a black pillar, which grew and grew till it rose skywards and began making for the meadows. Seeing it, they waxed fearfully, exceedingly inclined to the top of the tree, which was a lofty, whence they gazed to see what might be the matter. And behold, it was a Jinni, huge of height and burly of breast and bulk, broad of brow and black of blee, bearing on his head a coffer of crystal. He strode to land, wading through the deep, coming to the tree whereupon were the two kings seated himself beneath it. He then set down the coffer on his bottom, and out it drew a casket with 7 padlocks of steel, which he unlocked with 7 keys of steel he took from beside his thigh, and out of it a young lady to come was seen, white-skinned and of winsomest mien, of stature stature fine and thin, and bright as though a moon of the 14th night she had been, or the sun raining lively sheen. Even so, the poet Utayaya hath exceedingly said, oh, sorry, I didn't see the yippee. Yippee, 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 yippee. I didn't see it. Apologies. 603. She rose like the morn as she shone through the night, and she gilded the grove with her gracious sight. From her radiance the sun taketh increase when she unveileth, and shameth the moonshine bright. Bow down all beings between her hands, as she showeth charms with her veiled undight. And she footeth cries with torrent tears, when she flasheth her look of levin light. The Jinni seated her under the tree by his side, and looked at her, said, O choicest love of this heart of mine. First thin, fine and thin architect bros it so over. O dame of noblest line, whom I snatched away on thy bride night, that none might prevent me from taking thy maidenhead, I'll tumble thee before I did, in whom none save myself hath loved or hath enjoyed. O my sweetheart, I would fight sleep a little while. He then laid his head upon the lady's thigh, and stretching out his legs, which extended down to the sea, he slept and snored, and sparked like the roll of thunder. Presently she raised her head towards the treetop, and saw the two kings perched near the summit. Then she softly lifted off her lap the Jinni's pate. There is no story that takes place in Mauritania. Be quiet. I'm losing it. She had a summit. Then she softly which she was tired of supporting, and placed it upon the ground, and standing upright under the tree, signed to the kings, "Come ye down, ye two, and fear not from this Ifrit." They were in a terrible fright when they found that she had seen them, and answered her in the same manner. "Allah upon thee, and by thy modesty, O lady, excuse us from coming down." Arabian Nights takes place? I wonder where the story Arabian Nights takes place. Yes, the entire Arabian Peninsula. I will give a little note, though, another small detail about the book. The actual title is not the Arabian Nights. The actual title is 1001 Nights of Layla O Layla. The reason it's named this way kind of shows up later, but English translating, they gave it a different name. But she rejoined by saying, "Allah upon you both, that ye come down forthright, and if ye come not, I will arouse upon you my husband, this Ifrit, and he shall do you to die by the illest of deaths." And she continued making signals to them. So, being afraid, they came down to her, and she arose before them and said, "Stroke me a strong stroke, without stay or delay, otherwise will I arouse and set upon you this Ifrit, who shall slay you straightway." Then they said to her, "O our lady, we conjure thee, by Allah, let us off this work, for we are fugitives from such an extreme and in extreme dread and terror of this thy husband. How then can we do it in such a way as thou desires? Leave this talk, it needs must be so." Quote, she swore them by him who raised the skies on high, without prop or pillar, that if they if they worked not her will, she would cause them to be slain and cast into the sea. Whereupon, out of fear, King Shahryar said to King Shah Zaman, "O my brother, do thou what she biddeth thee to do." But he replied, "I will not do it till thou do it before I do." Oh. They began disputing about futtering her. Then quoth she to the twain, "How is it I see you disputing and demurring? If ye do not come forward like men, and do the deed of kind ye two, I will rouse upon you the Ifrit." At this, by reason of their sore dread of the genie, both did by her what she bade them to do.
Want to listen to some tunes?
Hello, Ramnor. Let me put a slight pause in the book. Let me grab my bookmark so I can so I know the position I'm in. Hello, everybody. Hello. Let me see if I remember my commands. Shout out. Ow. Did I? Uh-oh. GC. Open up. Apologies, everyone. I have to quickly remember what my commands were, because they should have been done. 7 a.m. in Greece. He needs to sleep. Yes. Before you do, let me do the normal. Shout out, Ramnor. Wonder. There we go. Now let me quickly find the other one. That is the better one. It's 5 a.m. Ramnor. Go to bed. My brother, go to bed. Give me a second, everyone. Give me a second, everyone. Where is my dashboard? I will. Thank you. Where is it? Chatbot, chat commands. See, he's confused. Go shower. Before you do, let me find this command. Where? What? Is it? Oh, it might have been in Mix. I did not open Mix It Up. I am a professional, everyone. I am a professional. Uh, Thank you. Thank you, Ramnor, for the raid. I'm awaiting the like command pro streamer. I am pro streamer. While I try to get this, let me tell everyone what we are doing. I am reading the Arabian Nights for the first ASMR reading stream, so that's why my voice is not the usual gremlinish tone. Where? Oh, where is it? Dashboard. Oh no, where is it? There's commands. Custom commands. It's an ungrouped. Social. Read out message. Where is it? A time. What? I remember setting this up. So I don't know why it didn't appear. Oh shoot. Is it gonna work now? No. Thank you. What the? The stream is online. What the? What? Alright, I guess I'll create the shoutout command later. I very much don't know why it isn't there. But what were you doing today, Ramnor? What were you doing today? What were you doing today? That's a note. I have to note. Yes, Mass Effect. Mass Effect 2. How was it? Was it good? Very fun. Glad to hear. Glad to hear. On. And being forced to do push-ups. And being called a scammer. You are a scammer, Ramnor. You are a scammer. That is without question. So, yes. Back to it. I sent. I've called in the backup support, so to speak, to find out why the command doesn't work when it should. Again, this has thrown me completely for a loop. Well, I remember making it. Don't know where it went. I guess we'll continue, though. Where was I? And this, by reason of their sore dread of the genie, both did by her what she bade them do, and when they had dismounted from her, she said, "Well done." She then took from her pocket a purse and drew out a knotted string, whereon were strung 570 seal rings, and asked, "Know ye what be these?" They answered her, saying, "We know not." Then quoth she, These be the signets of 570 men who have all futtered me upon the horns of this foul, this foolish, this filthy Ifrit. So give me also your 2 seal rings, ye pair of brothers. GC, apparently the shoutout command disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore. Yes, that command broke. We don't have it. It's not on Stream Elements. It was not on Mix It Up. It's gone. I remember us making it. I don't know where it went. What? Yeah, it's gone. It's just... I did save it. I did save it. It's just gone, though. It just... poof. Gone out of thin air. Wondrous. Wondrous sort. Check. Re-add it up. Re-add it up to the Stream Elements dashboard. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it after stream, or if you are able to do it, GC, I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah. Alright, back to it. When they had drawn their 2 rings from their hands and given them to her, she said to them, "Of a truth, this Ifrit bore me off on my bride night, and put me into a casket, and set the casket in a coffer. With the coffer he affixed 7 strong padlocks of steel, and deposited me on the bottom of the sea that raves, dashing and clashing with waves, and guarded me so that I might remain chaste and honest. Quotha, that none save himself might have connection with me. But I have lain under as many of my kind as I pleased, and this wretched Jinni wotteth not that destiny may not be averted nor hindered by aught, and that whatso woman willeth the same she fulfilleth, however man nilleth. Even so saith one of them, rely not on women, trust not to their hearts, whose joys and whose sorrows are hung to their parts. Lying love they will swear thee, whereince guile neareth departs. Take Yusuf for sample, where slayeth and where smarts. Iblis ousted Adam. See ye not? Throw their arts. And another saith, stint thy blame, man. 'Twill drive to a passion without bound. My fault is not so heavy as fault in it has found. If true lover I become, then to me there cometh not, save what happened unto many in the bygone stound. For wonderful is he, and right worthy of our praise, who from wiles of female wit keep him safe and keep him sound. Oh God. Speaking... Oh. I very much don't know what's up with my vocal cords. Why it's starting to feel like it's turning to stone. Well, pardon me a second. There we go. Hello, Ghostly. Hello. Hearing these words, they marveled with exceeding marvel, and she went from them to the Ifrit, and, taking up his head on her thigh as before, said to them softly, "Now wend your ways and bear yourselves beyond the bounds of his malice." Okay. Okay, so my voice is actually just giving out. Oh, thank goodness it's happening now. So they fared forth, saying either to other, Allah, Allah, and there be no majesty, and there be no might, save in Allah, the glorious, the great, and with him we seek refuge from women's malice and slight. For of a truth it hath no mate and smite. Consider, O my brother, the ways of this marvelous lady with an Ifrit, who is so much more powerful than we are. Now, since there hath happened to be him a greater mishap than that which befell us, and which should bear us abundant consolation, so return we to our countries and capitals, and let us decide never to intermarry with womankind, and presently we will show them what will be our action. Thereupon they rode back to the tent of King Shahryar, which they reached on the morning of the third day, and having mustered the vizier and emirs, the chamberlains and high officials, he gave a robe of honor to his viceroy and issued orders for an immediate return to the city. There he sat him upon his throne, sending for the chief minister, the father of the two damsels, who, inshallah, will presently be mentioned. He said, I command thee to take my wife and smite her to death, for she hath broken her plight and her faith. So he carried her to the place of execution and did her die. Then King Shahryar took brand in hand, and repairing to the Seraglio slew all the concubines and their Mamluks. He also sware himself by a bounding oath that whatever wife he married, he would abate her maidenhead at night and slay her next morning to make sure of his honor. For, he said, there never was, nor is there, one chaste woman upon face of earth. Then Shahzaman prayed for permission to fare homewards, and he went forth equipped and escorted and travelled till he reached his own country. Meanwhile Shahryar commanded his vizier to bring him the bride of the night, that he may go into her. So he produced a most beautiful girl, the daughter of one of the emirs, and the king went into her at eventide, and when morning dawn he bade his minister strike off her head, and the vizier did accordingly for fear of the sultan. When I said that this book ramps up to an irredeemable portion, it really does. On this wise he continued for the space of 3 years, marrying a maiden every night and killing her the next morning, till folks raised an outcry against him and cursed him, praying Allah utterly to destroy him. Uh-oh. And his rule, and women made an uproar, and mothers wept, and parents fled with their daughters, till there remained not in the city a young person fit for carnal copulation. Presently the king ordered his chief vizier, the same who was charged with the execution, to bring him a virgin as was his wont, and the minister went forth and searched and found none. So he returned home in sorrow and anxiety, fearing for his life from the king. Now he had 2 daughters, Shahrazia and Dunyazad, height of whom the elder had perused the books, annals, and legends of preceding kings, and the stories, examples, and instances of bygone men and things, Indeed, it was said that she had collected 1,000 books of histories relating to antique races and departed rulers. She had perused the works of the poets and knew them by heart. She had studied philosophy and the sciences, arts, and accomplishments. No, and she was pleasant and polite, wise and witty, well read and well bred. Now on the day she said to her father, "Why do I see thee thus changed and laden with cark and care? Concerning the matter, quoth one of the poets, "Tell whoso hath sorrow, grief never shall last, E'en as joy hath no morrow, so woe shall go to pass." When the vizier heard from his daughter these words, he related to her, from first to last, all that happened between him and the king. Thereupon she said, "By Allah, O my father, how long shall this slaughter of women endure? Shall I tell thee what is in my mind in order to save both sides from destruction?" "Say on, O my daughter," quoth he, and quoth she, "I wish thou wouldst give me in marriage to the King Shahryar. Either I shall live, or I shall be a ransom for the virgin daughters of Moslems, and the cause of their deliverance from his hands and thine." "Allah upon thee," cried he, and wrath exceeding, that lacked no feeding, "O scanty of wit, expose not thy life to such peril. How durst thou address me in words so wide from wisdom and unfar from foolishness? Know that one who lacketh experience in worldly matters readieth falleth into misfortune, and whoso considereth not the end keepeth not the world to friends. And the vulgar say, I was lying at mine esser, at mine ease, not but my officiousness brought me unease." "Needs must thou," she broke in, "make me a doer of this good deed, and let him kill me as he will. I shall not die a ransom for others." "O my daughter," asked he, "and how shall that profit thee when thou shalt have thrown away thy life?" And she answered, "O my father, it must be, come of it what will." The vizier was again moved to fury, and blamed and reproached her, ending with, "In very deed, I fear lest the same befall thee which befell the bull and the ass with the husbandman." "And what," asked she, "befell them, O my father?" Whereupon the vizier began the tale of the bull and the ass. The bull and the ass. I do want to. I am going to end here because I am reaching my time because I did have very, very little time to do this today. But this moves on. While it's still within the tale of Shahrazia, let me put the book away. While it's within the tale of Shahrazia, I consider the next tale, the next story, to be its own. And so I'm going to leave the next story to the next time I read, because I don't have much time today. Let me see who sound a bit better, but it sounded like you were about to cry. No, my voice was very much hurting from trying to keep that straight, monotone tone. Alright, reading out. I'll fucking read Topaz. Yeah, everyone get in, get in, get in. Get in. We're eating out. I have to call it a night here today. I would like to thank all of you for watching. I hope you enjoyed tonight's reading. There you go. There's our raid message. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's reading. I'll see you all tomorrow for a much better, much longer stream where we showcase the model. It's the model reveal, not debut. It's not the proper debut. No, it's the model reveal tomorrow. Yeah. With that, I bid you all farewell. And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.